If the pelvis is upright when you step back, you will not load the glute and you might get some lower back or knee pain. Imagine spilling water out the front of a bucket and now the glute is properly loaded, there's no lower back or knee pain, and you can start handling real weight. That's just one cue, but when you put all the steps together, you'll build serious quads and glutes, and then you can really level up by adding a deficit. Let's get straight into the setup, starting with grip. We're going to embed the bars deep in the palm of the hands, wrap the fingers around one at a time, and grip tight. Breathe in, brace, stand up. From here, a small outward turn of the biceps to stabilize the shoulders, engage the back. And now we're going to think about stance. So, look down at your feet. We want them to be a fist width apart. We then want to shift our weight to the side that we're working. In this case, I'm going to shift my hips to the right. I'm now going to think about feeling my whole right foot. So imagine the foot as a tripod. We want equal force between the heel, the base of the big toe, the base of the pinky toe. And finally, torso position. We want to make sure that the rib cage is stacked over the pelvis. So think about tucking the pelvis as if reading a belt buckle, ribs down. Now we can engage the core properly and we're ready for the execution. This is where most people go wrong. When you step back and down, you need to perform a slight hip hinge so that you stretch and load the glutes as well as the quads and keep tension on that front leg. So, the cue I like to give is to first imagine that your pelvis is a bucket of water that is upright. And your goal as you step back and down is to spill 20% of that water out the front of the bucket. If you get this correct, that bottom position, your torso is going to be angled forward, your back is going to be straight, your shin is angled forward, and your whole front foot is loaded. You're burning in the glutes and the quads. Another very important point on that step back and down is a relatively short step back. This way, you keep tension on the front leg. If you get this position correct, the back knee will be directly under the back hip or even slightly ahead of it. In that bottom position, we want the knee just off the ground, a slight pause, and then we're going to return to standing. Now, the return to standing is just as important as the way you go down. The goal is to reverse the route in the same way you went down. So from this bottom position, pelvis is slightly tilted forward, right? So the goal is to drive that hip through and tuck so that the pelvis is now upright and stacked back under the rib cage. So you want to think about pushing strongly through the front foot, driving the hip forward and tucking like so. That way you finish in the exact same position you started and you're good to go again. Two other key points. The first is breathing. We want to breathe in on the way down, through the nose, out on the way up like so. Okay, that deep inhale through the nose is going to generate intra-abdominal pressure, so you're strong and stable in that bottom position to drive out of. Then you can breathe out and repeat like so. Second is tempo. Now, when I step back, I don't just go straight into the back leg. I actually perform that hip hinge action before the back foot even touches the ground. So take your time, and then once you're connected, you then want to lower slowly, okay? So here, 1, 2, pause, drive up. That way, we get the benefits of eccentric loading, which is when muscles lengthen under tension. So we want it to be nice and controlled like that. Here's 3 reps in real time. Notice I'm tilting the pelvis forward to stretch and load the glutes. Notice the short step back to keep my weight over the front foot. Notice the controlled tempo on the way down and leading with the hip on the way up. Quick final point there. It's tempting to overuse the back foot, but that defeats the goal of maximizing tension on the front leg. So in that bottom position and as you drive up, you want to feel like 80 to 90% of the load is through that front foot. That way, you're going to get the best results from this exercise. Let's troubleshoot knee pain, lower back pain, and difficulties with balance. Starting with knee pain, there are 2 main culprits. The first is stepping too far back. When you do that, you shift weight from the front leg to the back leg, and now that back leg has to work overtime to decelerate your body. So you're going to concentrate a lot of force around the back knee. Simple fix, shorten the step back. The second culprit of knee pain is just being too upright on the step back. So you get a ton of knee over toes, okay, forward shin angle, but we're not getting any stretching and loading of the glutes. So we're not sharing the load, and that can overload the knee. The fix is to do that hip hinge as we step back and down. Lower back pain culprit 1 is rounding in the bottom position, okay? It's the same as a butt wink in a squat. Why does that happen? It happens as a compensation for not performing a hip hinge. So the fix again is that slight hip hinge as we step back and down to keep the back straight. The second culprit is on the way up, okay? So from this position, if you just kind of lead with the chest, you're going to end up here in open scissor posture, that is extension compression of the lumbar spine. So we've got to keep that pelvis tucked, that rib cage down, and maintain connection from start to finish. That means we've got to lead with the hip and right the bucket on the return. If you're struggling with balance, there could be 2 possible reasons. One is you're starting with the feet too wide apart. So now you have to coordinate stepping back and down and shifting your weight over to the working leg. That's a lot to think about. So that's why in the setup, I'm saying feet very close together, load the whole front foot before you step back and down. Now it's much easier to maintain your balance. The second is footwear. So we don't ideally want a cushioned shoe. Otherwise, your foot's going to have to work so hard to stabilize, and it's very challenging. So a barefoot shoe or a minimalist shoe allows your foot to be connected to the ground, properly stable, and now you're going to be much stronger as you perform the exercise. I'm going to leave you with 3 quick tips. Before I do, a question worth asking yourself: how strong should you be at this exercise? I think a solid strength standard is 70% of your body weight in both hands for 5 perfect reps. So for me, that's 2 28-kilo dumbbells. Now, most people are nowhere near this strong due to 2 reasons: poor form, poor programming. Both are solved with my training programs because this is a fundamental human movement that we want to get really strong at. You can check that out in the description below. On to the quick tips. When ready, add a deficit. So stand on a plate or something that raises your foot off the ground so that you have to work through a more complete range of motion. This is going to be harder, so you want to be reasonably strong before you move on to this more advanced variation. Number 2, when you're lifting heavy enough weight, wear lifting straps. I would say this is somewhere between 30 and 50% of your body weight in each hand. At that point, it's likely that your grip is going to limit how much weight you can handle. Lifting straps solve that problem so you can make sure that you maximize tension where you want it on your legs. Number 3, try this exercise with a barbell. Same movement patterns, same cues, but different tool. It's really nice to have variations of these fundamental movements in your programming. I'm a big fan of barbell reverse lunges. Even more so, barbell deficit reverse lunges might be my favorite lower body exercise. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know which of these cues helped you out, and also what exercise would you like to see next. Let me know, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next one.